Thanks, and hello everyone. Konnichiwa, ni hao. Welcome, mates, and we're ready to look at the future of AI and machine learning and Oracle products. Now, Peter Drucker, a very well-known founder of modern-day management, would say the enterprise that does not innovate inevitably ages and declines. And in a period of rapid change such as the present, an entrepreneurial period, the decline will be fast. So if you don't take the time to start applying machine learning, your company is going to age and decline, and your skills are going to age and decline. And this is the time when you need to leverage Oracle to do those things. Here's a little bit about me, not to impress you, just so that you understand my background and where I'm coming from. There's my Twitter, where I announce when I hear different products that are coming out or great talks that are there by ACE directors or other ACEs I try to retweet. And also send an email to get a copy of the slides. I work for a company called Viscosity, who does the database, does infrastructure, and also does Oracle applications, and also things like Apex and all kinds of different industries. As a partner, it's nice to have 4 aces in your pocket, so Viscosity makes a very nice partner as well. The goal, though, is focusing on WIN, or what's important now to succeed in the future. There's a lot of disruption happening for a lot of different reasons. Innovative companies always find a way to leverage technology. They leverage big data. They leverage IoT. They leverage machine learning. I'm going to show you how Oracle has built it into the product in different products. And you need to look at your business and see where you can apply it best. Oracle also can integrate things like robotics as well. If you look at that picture in the upper right-hand corner, it's Leonardo da Vinci. Notice he's showing a flying machine now. Nobody was flying around at the time, so how did he innovate that idea? And the answer is he was somebody who worked for a company where he was an apprentice to the owner, and the owner had all these different pieces where he could put things together. Whatever his mind could come up with, he could piece it together. His boss was also a painter, and so he taught him how to paint. They painted the baptism of Jesus together. It's what the entrepreneur is only known for in this world. Whereas Leonardo da Vinci painted things like the Mona Lisa, the Last Supper, and things like that. But do you give an environment similar to what Leonardo da Vinci had? Do you have all the tools that people on your staff need to create success? Do you leverage IoT, big data, chatbots, machine learning, and so on? Because the organizations that do it well are leveraging technology. Innovation, though, comes in different waves. If you look at the current technology, maybe it's that telegraph where they do Morse code in the telegraph machine, but then an emerging technology comes, like the telephone, and that telegraph isn't good anymore. And I could invest a lot of money into it, but I'm not going to sell what I used to sell because the telephone is there. The new has replaced the old. And look at disruptive innovation in the past. Postal mail went to email. Telegraph went to the telephone, which went to the cell phone. Computers went to smartphones, tablets for some people. A floppy drive became a USB. Encyclopedia became Wikipedia. Filing cabinet became a database. And then even faster, more disruptive innovation. Instead of email, it's Snapchat, Instagram. Now we went from a cell phone to a smartwatch. Maybe eventually they're working on an implant. A USB became the cloud or Google Docs. Wikipedia became Alexa and Siri. I can ask those questions to. DBA, now maybe autonomous transaction processing or some type of autonomous database might replace that. autonomous JSON even. But it is time for workers to worry about AI, but not so much to get rid of your job, but more of how do you fit into that job. Machine learning is going to change everything. If we look at supervised learning on the right there, and classifying images maybe using something like TensorFlow, I might classify a bunch of dogs and cats in those images so that when I have an autonomous vehicle, I'll say, don't hit a dog or a cat. Or it could be unsupervised learning. I don't have the data, but I have some big data, and I say, hey, I'd like to do targeted marketing to certain age groups, so cluster my data into 5 age groups. So machine learning is not something you're going to implement in a week, but it's something you're going to implement over the next few years. But where are you in history, where things are accelerating greatly? Where things like AI, artificial intelligence through machine learning, are literally changing everything that happens. And they're being built within robotics. They're built within energy storage. Things like Bloom Energy, leverages things like hydrogen or natural gas to create energy, changing the current model that we have. Blockchain technology, where you have a shareable ledger. And then there are movie or television shows that younger people watch, and one of them is the White Rabbit Project, where they say, why aren't people leveraging technology even more so? And they say a lot of things that are possible, people are not leveraging. One of those is prosthetics. The things we're using in prosthetics are pretty amazing, where we can have sensors on the body that will operate those prosthetics. Is your arm as good as an arm that maybe is 5 times as strong? Maybe it can rotate the wrist 360 degrees. And then you look in the lower right, a very innovative person from Indonesia, who he doesn't have all this money to build all these fancy things, but he finds a way to build those. Can I put a smile on a child's face that, has lost a limb? And the answer, with innovation, I can. And then look at the guy in the upper right, and his arm, he's a tattoo artist. His arm is his job. And people said, Edward Scissorhands, that'll never happen. But hey, that guy almost looks like it. But we're moving from using digital on our iPhone to wearing digital to implanting digital to some degree and seeing this first beginning of superheroes. And then the Hivemind, is that just the internet right now, which keeps advancing with 64-bit, will advance even faster with 128-bit. But here come the robots. And they're not sentient beings. A robot doesn't see a sunset and feel something. It doesn't see the sunrise and just be motivated by that new growth. Now, when I was young, robots looked like this. As I grew a little older, they said, oh no, these are things we need to worry about. But the actual robots today are even beyond any science fiction. I mean, they're really a digital twin who are assisting me in some ways. They do things that I don't necessarily do. And Sophia robot, there at the bottom, in the bottom middle, she is now a citizen of a country. They interviewed her, and she said she would like to get her college degree. So where will this all lead? But the big thing is, are you integrating robots with your company? Are you leveraging them? You could do it for meetings, maybe for a menu. There's hotel check-in. Pepper the robot in the upper left from Softbank is a robot that you can leverage as well. But robotics are going to have an impact on the lowest income jobs most of all. And it's going to impact certain countries more than others because they have more of those type of jobs. But some jobs are gone, and you've got to be careful. These were telephone operators that would plug in a switch to connect two calls. They weren't needed because a switch replaced them. Rod Serling, who built the great TV series, The Twilight Zone, he was talking about today's times when he wrote that in the 50s and 60s. Said the competition between man's mind and the product of man's mind, for this there's standing room only in the Twilight Zone. He was talking about robots and the competition between man and that robot man built. But the real way to look at it is, what is a robot good for? Can learn, does not forget, can scale. Whereas a human is more a sentient being, can be creative, can be innovative, artistic, can look at the emotions of others. How do we integrate? Well, a robot should be somebody who is an assistant to us. How will I ever get to robotics? Maybe you're not even an innovative company now. What drives innovation? Well, number one is cloud computing. Number two, mobility, things that work on my phone. Software as a service, different apps, virtualization, big data, IoT. These are the things you have to start reaching into with the company you have. Overall enterprise spending is not growing, but it is much bigger than cloud spending. But cloud spending is growing faster. It's growing much faster. It's the direction things are going because I can access things like big data, IoT easier. I can move things around easier. If we look at the cloud, we can see where we're at now. There's a year later. And Starbucks got on the act. They've got the cloud macchiato coffee. Kind of like that cloud. I don't think there's many choices, though. Oracle, late to the game, but now they're accelerating greatly. Most recently in the Q4, I think it was 140% growth rate in their main cloud business. And then also autonomous database grew by 70%. But innovation is more than just the cloud. What does an innovative company look like? Big hint, they leverage technology. Here's one, Apple. What are they? A tech innovator. They're innovation, but within a certain sector. You want a bigger iPhone? We'll make it as big as you want, all the way up to an iPad. How about Amazon? Started out selling books, then they're selling movies, then they're making movies. They're selling stuff on Black Friday, then they have a new day called Prime Day. They even have an Innovation Day where they sell different products. Are you as innovative as Amazon? Amazon has a dash button where you can press this button and you'll get Tide at your house. If you have a small child, you'll probably get a lot of Tide. And what they really wanted, and Amazon put this out, is a Doritos button. That's what kids want. How about just ask Alexa? Now we have what really is a robot, just doesn't walk around. Hey Alexa, send me a truckload of Doritos. That's what I would have done if I was a 5-year-old. Amazon also starting to look at robots. Amazon Robotics at Project Vesta. How about robots in their warehouse to organize and make the warehouse more and more efficient? So when I look at Amazon, I say, they leverage technology tremendously. Do you leverage it as tremendously as they do? How about your IT center? Is it as good as theirs? Probably not. But guess what? You can go to the Oracle cloud or some other cloud, and you can have as good of a data center as they do. But I think the most innovative is Google. First of all, how'd they start? Very small box, simple, do a search, not hard to do, right? But then they started adding things. Gmail, YouTube, Translate, Google Drive, and eventually Google Cloud. They wouldn't let you use your phone in the car, so Google said, well, I'll put this in the car so you could use those same functions. And the lawmakers were like, well, we don't like that. So Google said, well, just drive the car for you. How's that? And what did they use? Things like image classification, so I could look at images. And they use a product called TensorFlow, where they're doing image classification. So they look at 1,000 cats or 1,000,000 cats, and they go, okay, that's what a cat looks like, or that's what a dog looks like, or that's what a person looks like. Now, when I have an autonomous car, don't hit that. Then I can leverage that machine learning into autonomous driving. But it's just machine learning. Google also acquired things in the home, that smoke alarm, the thermostat, a few other jokes. Some people say, oh, the government may be listening to me. Well, now they actually say, that's okay, but do you have a recipe for pancakes? Google's data center. Maybe you can't have this, but if you go to the cloud, you can have that. How about Oracle? You have a database in Oracle. Think of how Larry thinks, Larry Ellison. I admire risk takers, leaders, people who do things before they become fashionable or popular. He's saying, I like innovators. I find that kind of integrity inspirational. I think you should say, I find that kind of innovation inspirational, because that's what he's talking about. Oracle is driving the cloud. It's going faster now. But they're also driving machine learning, and they're driving all the things that makes Oracle great. Different types of data very quickly. Good security. But in addition to that, something like Exadata that makes things faster. But they also bought a company called datascience.com because they know that people and companies are going to explore data science and machine learning as a way to develop competitive advantage. When we look at Oracle, Oracle is like, I'm not giving you a little bit of machine learning. I'm giving you software as a service. I'm going to embed it into Oracle applications, all of them, and it's there right now. I'm going to give you an autonomous database that will manage itself, but inside it, I'm going to give you Oracle machine learning, no charge. And they also bought a company, datascience.com. Oh, I have a product that you just point and click to do data science if you have data scientists. So 3 different ways to leverage it. And there's also a 4th, Oracle Analytics Cloud, and we'll see that as well. As I said, we're just going to touch upon each of these, so don't expect to learn them fully. It's just to give you a feel for what Oracle has. If you go to cloud.oracle.com/try it, you can get a 30-day trial. Do autonomous data warehouse, autonomous transaction processing. You can do big data. You can do IoT. Oracle's cloud, generally, when you compare data warehouse clouds, and there's a comparison that we did, but Oracle versus AWS, Oracle is much cheaper because it's much faster, because the database is faster, because it has partitioning, because it has in-memory, because it has buffer cache and an in-memory column store, because it has storage indexes. It's a lot of things that Oracle has built over 40 years that makes it a very, very good cloud. Now, a robot may not look like one. Siri, is it a robot? Alexa, is it a robot? I don't know. I think it is. Just they just don't walk around. But guess what? They don't ask for raises. They work 24/7. And then autonomous database. Is it just a robot that manages my database? Is it just a robot that makes my system secure? I asked Pepper the robot, can you tune my database? And she said, I don't understand the question. I said, good. I want to keep my job. Make sure you don't read my book either. But hey, if you're out there and you work for Softbank, tell them to send me a Pepper the robot. I'll start training her. But autonomous database, self-managing, self-securing, self-tuning, self-recovering, self-scaling administration. They will put on the patch before you even know your system needs a patch. And then if you're not sure Oracle's going to push this, their last big conference that we had in person, that's all they talked about. Is it going to change your job? Probably, no matter what job you do. If you do a DBA job right now, maybe you're going to be more of a data administrator instead of a database administrator. You're going to be a security expert, not just security on the database. Maybe you're going to look over costs. Maybe you're going to develop with machine learning. But it's changing. How hard is it to build an autonomous database that manages it itself? Well, let's look. I log in after I've set up a trial. I say create a database, that middle button on the top. It asks me for a password. I bring my own license. I say I already have one, or the license could be included. I do transaction processing. I could also do data warehouse if it's more of a data warehouse. And I say create autonomous database. And then 2.5 minutes later, it's there. 2.5 minutes, I have a database. If I want to scale it up, all I do is press the button, scale up, change the CPUs, change the storage. I could also click stop to stop the database. I can bring it down in all of 2 minutes. Not very difficult. In this case, it was 18C. I could also go to the Service Console and do development. Either SQL, I could use Oracle Application Express for REST data services, or I could go to machine learning. Here I'm going to go into machine learning. I could do SQL statements. I could do what are called Zeppelin notebooks. Go into the SQL Scratchpad, do a select statement, gives me some results. I could do another one where I'm inserting some values. And then I can click on the pie chart picture and get a pie chart of that data. Not too much yet, but I'm going to show you more with machine learning. I can also provision autonomous data warehouse if I need something more like a data warehouse. That takes all of 3 minutes. But if I'm a developer or DBA in the Oracle world, Oracle has something where they could say in 6 weeks, become a data scientist. And the keys are, and this is from Charlie Berger, who runs that area, says make sure you understand the business. Then the data, prepare the data, model the data, evaluate and deploy it. So what's most of it? It's data related. Oracle developers and DBAs will do very well in this area. Do you understand the business fully? It's not predict employees that'll leave. It's based on past employees, why they left, different attributes they have. Then find out people are going to stay or going to leave. Not target the best customers, but based on what? Do I want customers that buy a lot or buy very frequently or influence other customers maybe? What are the attributes that make a good or bad customer? Only you that know the business can tell. But the more data, the better that predictive model will be. You can see the black line without, all these different variables, and then the red line of what the true picture of that model is as I try to predict the future. Machine learning and autonomous database. As I said, I go to the Service Console, click on machine learning, and the next thing I could do a select statement. You can see here to the customer 360 table, look at some data. Then I can click on that bar chart, and then we'll have the picture in a bar chart. I've stacked the areas of different marriage, whether they're married, whether they're not married, and so on. And I stack that data, and on the x-axis I have them, that's the settings button. If I click on that, I put the year that they were born. But I want to show you one algorithm just to get a feel for how it works. So if I had a support vector machine which does anomaly detection, what happens behind the scenes is mathematicians over years and years of time have written a mathematical model that says put a circle around the data as tight as possible, and then everything that falls outside of that is going to be an anomaly. So I'd use that for maybe fraud detection. Or on the picture image on the right, you could see separate good and bad customers, not by the green line, not by the blue line, even though that separates them. Do the red line. Build your mathematical algorithm so the data is as far apart as humanly possible, so future data, I know if they're going to be a good or bad customer in the future. So the first thing is the math. You don't have to do that. Oracle has done it and given you the algorithm. Then I go into the autonomous database. Remember, it took me all of 2.5 minutes to bring this up and provision, build a database. Then I go through and I say go to machine learning notebooks. They have a lot of examples for me. I'm going to go through and you can see the first red circle there. I'm going to build a setting and it says use this algorithm, support vector machines. Then the second red circle says create a model, call it Customers 360 model, and use that Customer 360 setting, which is the algorithm of support vector machines. And do that on the table called Customer 360 based on the customer ID. Now you're not going to learn all this, but you can see it's, what is it, PL SQL. And then I use some SQL to say, do the prediction probability using that model, notice the circled in red part, and find anomalous data based on the years of residence and group it by marital status. And what am I doing here? A lot of SQL. And I'll go one step further and I say, give me the top 15 anomalous customers. Still calling that same Customer 360 model. So I build a model with the data I have, then I use the model to find things out. Then I'm going to say, give me the attributes of why that data is anomalous. Find those attributes that are making this data anomalous. And you could see, what do I need to know to become great at machine learning using this product, which is Oracle Machine Learning inside of Autonomous Database, which is no charge at all. And the answer is, all I need to know is SQL and PL SQL pretty much, and a few different functions and algorithms. Other algorithms out there, seasonal sales, a time series algorithm. People are buying a lot of things at Christmas because it's a popular time for gift giving. Exponential smoothing algorithm. Stock data is very choppy. This is a way to smooth out those chops. Exponential smoothing algorithm. How about a decision tree algorithm? This is maybe a lawyer. You can see the case on the image on the right side. And the case, somebody offers to settle it for $30,000. So I use a decision tree and say, well, if I proceed, I'll win 60% of the time, lose 40%. And if I lose, there's different costs. If I win, there's different costs. And then it figures out all the math behind that to tell you you're probably going to lose $2,500. So you should take the settlement. So I can model things in my business to do this for me automatically, very quickly. Here's an example of the code. Once again, I'm inserting into a settings table. This time the algorithm is a decision tree. And then you can see it's creating a model and it's classifying data and it's doing it for the mining data build V table. Customer ID column is the main column to see if people will buy this credit card. You don't have a favorite NFL team, you could just go with the Chicago Bears. They win every once and, they win once ever in the Super Bowl. They're good this year, we'll put it that way. So you want this Bears card, they could actually look and predict whether somebody's going to want this card. I'll give you a hint, if they're from Green Bay, they don't want it. But there's also other things that Oracle has. And you could see all the different algorithm examples they've shown here. But the big part of Oracle is they've been building these algorithms for 20 years. They've been building analytics for 20, 30 years. So they already have functions that classify data, good or bad customers maybe, that cluster data into different age groups maybe, or find anomaly detections, or do time series as we saw, or regression. Find out, do some forecasting for me, or attributes. What are the attributes that make a good customer? Or association rule. This is a function that says, well, if they buy eggs, will they buy milk too? Or what do they buy, when they buy one product, what other products will they buy along with that? And then all the SQL analytics and statistical functions that Oracle's built over the years are also in there for you to use as well. But Oracle also integrates with Python and R as well. Here's a great study that somebody did that looked at algorithms in healthcare. And the way they did it is they looked at PubMed and all these documents people were writing, and they said, hey, when they mention an algorithm, tell me. And you could see the majority of the time people were talking about support vector machines. Not the majority of the time, but the largest grouping. And why is that? Because it did what we just showed. How it was anomaly detection. I want to find an anomaly in healthcare. Or they used a neural network. Why is that? Because it does image classification. And you could see how helpful that would be in healthcare. And you could see all the other ones. Oracle has ways to use all of those. Now there's also another product, but this product costs. It is for cost, but it is very impressive. Oracle Analytics Cloud. And you could see the look and feel for that. Here's a very intuitive graph. Intuitive means that the graph is very easy to look at it and you see stuff. It's 4 quarters, and you could see, the fourth quarter is much better than the other quarter, fourth quarter a year ago. And then it has by color-coded customer segments. Then the size of it is how much it's sold, and the width of it is how much profit. So I make it very easy to just look and see what things look like without having to dig into it that much. But in OAC, they also have machine learning. Here's an algorithm where it says I have some data, clustered into 5 groups. And this is known as a k-means algorithm, where k is the number 5. And maybe it's unsupervised data. I don't know anything about the data, but put it into 5 age groups, maybe. So you can see how much time it will take to do all the different algorithms that are out there. And you could just see you have supervised learning and you have unsupervised learning. Supervised learning, I have some data that I'm training it. Unsupervised learning, I don't have data. And then there's AI. Includes machine learning, but also includes things like robotics, includes things like vision. How does the language actually work? Different languages work differently. And how about chatbots? Just a different type of robot. But most interactions are going to be automated. What are the things people use for machine learning? Well, Python, the #1 language for machine learning. And then there's, and it's integrated with Oracle. Then there's TensorFlow, a Google product, but that's also integrated with Oracle. Jupyter or Zeppelin notebooks. People use notebooks. R, there's Oracle for R as well. You can see Oracle has already integrated all the different products into machine learning now. How about big data? Is that something I need to start to use machine learning on? Well, if you're not accessing outside data now to understand your customers, you're missing a lot out there. But why don't people do it? Because it's just too big. The volume. Or it's coming at them too fast. The velocity. The speed at which it's coming. The value. Different data has different value. Different varieties of data. Some databases do documents well, but they don't do anything else well. Well, the nice thing is Oracle does all the different types. well. Whether it's semi-structured, structured, unstructured, document, graphical, etc. Oracle has a converged database that always has made all of those fast. Data-driven organizations, 23 times more likely to acquire customers. Tesla, worth more than GM, which shipped 92 times more vehicles. If you're a DBA, database administrator, maybe you want to be a data administrator. Oracle, if you know Oracle on this image, you know 90% of the image. Learning Hadoop is very easy, and you should be going through Oracle to get to Hadoop anyway, using Big Data SQL, because then you have a secure portal to get there. The security of Oracle allows you to go to these different data sources. The way Oracle processes it with speed is going to make the machine learning fast. Innovative companies leverage big data. Why? Because they want to know those things that they don't even know about. I was on a plane, they were reading the manual. I didn't know it, but I saw people were nervous about something, and I looked up and I was like, whoa, you're reading the manual. What's that about? They were like, no, we're just looking at a seat. And it was no issue. How about IoT? How am I going to access all those different IoT devices and pull it together? And the answer is I need machine learning to help me do that. We used to look at reports and they would tell us what happened last quarter. Then they started telling us why it happened last quarter. Then they started saying, hey, I predict next quarter, is going to be good or it's going to be bad. Now we can do prescriptive analytics using machine learning. What's the best thing that could happen and how do we do it? Prescribe to me what I need to do now so in the future things will work out. What's important now to do well in the future? And we'll see this in some of Oracle's products a little bit down when we look at the apps. We also have IoT devices in all of our different things in our house. The refrigerator, some are connected to a bathroom scale, and they're like, if you don't order these types of foods, we're just going to lock the refrigerator on you because we've been talking to the bathroom scale and things don't look good for you. There's also a whole wearable IoT. Is that something that should be integrated with your business? How about safety and security? Maybe at cities. One thing's for certain, though. The reason why Oracle Cloud is getting such a good reception in things like autonomous database on Exadata is because it automatically gives you multi-tenant where I separate my data, but partitioning where I can group my data to make it much faster because I'm accessing less of it. Storage indexes, which make it much faster on the disk side. Things like rack and active data guard that help me to have a high availability system that's also recoverable. And then in memory, not just on the column level, but also on the record level, whether it's a buffer cache or in-memory columnar store. And also compression to save me on older, data that doesn't need to be as fast. Maybe I'm going to compress that more. But the big secret of Oracle and their biggest advantage is security. And if you want to have the same security as Oracle, it's easy. It will take you 40 years, but it's easy. And you build it a brick at a time until the brick house is built. And it takes a long time to put in all the different pieces that make Oracle's security fit every type of business. And you can see what they've done over the last 40 years here. Oracle also is putting things into their applications, whether it's AI and machine learning, whether it's IoT, or whether it's leveraging augmented reality and chatbots. If you go to Oracle's Customer Experience Conference, it'll be online October 29th this month. Larry Ellison is the keynote speaker. You'll see how Oracle integrates some of their products, such as marketing and sales. And I saw this picture at this conference, and it's the Martech 5,000. 5,000 products to do marketing. Well, first of all, I don't want 5,000 products. I'd like my marketing to be already integrated with my commerce, to be integrated with my sales, to be integrated with my service, and I'd like machine learning in all of them. Well, the good news is Oracle integrates those already. And through different acquisitions like Eloqua on the marketing side, it's very visual on different form factors, which means whether it's on a laptop or it's on an iPad or it's on a cell phone, it automatically translates to the different sizes. It also uses machine learning, so I could take those win percentages of the salesperson, then I can build an algorithm, use an algorithm like decision tree, and find out what the actual sales will be. Or I can give hints to that salesperson, and I can look at my best salespeople and what they do and what are the attributes that were important, and then share those attributes with other salespeople. I also have it in all of the different Oracle built-in applications. If you've used any of these are the #1 applications in almost every area here. But manufacturing, Oracle has put machine learning in there to give you flags and alerts and prediction alerts of, is the quality going to be as high as you want? Is the yield going to be what you want? And if it's not, these are the things you should change now to fix it. For customer segmentation, it'll segment those customers into, your premium, very frequent customers or your rare customers. Then it'll look at market basket analysis. Who are my bargain hunters? How many big spenders do I have? How many items do they buy? How much do they pay per item? And it'll look at configure price quoting so that you can set the optimal discount to do prescriptive analytics or say, this is the sales I need to hit my quarterly goals, and it will tell you the optimal discount you need to hit that revenue. Very prescriptive analytics. And it'll look at employees themselves, and you could use different form factors once again, whether it be your iPad or phone. But look at employees and find out who are the most important ones that are influencing my business the most. What's the most important thing to them? Is it salary? Is it vacation time? And then I give you a sliding scale to maybe make them want to stay more. And predict that, this person is going to leave if I don't add a week of vacation, because that's what's important to them, not salary, not bonus. And then what ties it all together is I could, in this example, look at strawberry jam lots. They failed consistency tests. Somebody always gives you an excuse why it happened, but maybe it's many things. Maybe an HCM is going to tell me, well, you had a level 2 operator skill, and it was the second shift, and the supplier was Berry Farms, and I got that from my supply chain, and the blender max speed was not the right speed, and it wasn't the right time. Maybe that comes from the machine sensor. Or I didn't put the right quantity in, or the temperature wasn't right. It's not one thing that caused the problem, it's many things that cause that problem. But the fact that Oracle uses machine learning in all of them and ties them together gives you this incredible tool. Oracle also gives you Chatbots. So here's just an example. I want to check my balance. What balance do you want to check? My checking account there in the upper left tells you the balance. Well, on the right of that, the green and brown flow chart shows you all of what you have to build to do. It's kind of like a movie where, what's on the screen is very small, but behind the scenes, a lot is happening. And here's an example of Oracle's Chatbot and how to build it. And you can see it's pretty simple to build. I'm not going to go through all of it, but you could see some of the different buttons that are out there to set up the flow, and then I can test. And here's an example of the one you just saw, how, here's the things I need to look at: balances, send money, or different transactions. What are the different accounts that they have out there? And then maybe I want to integrate it with things like Facebook Messenger or something like that. And then I could look at some of the statistics on how often are people using this. But it's very easy, and it also translates to different languages, which is nice. I also have a way to integrate Softbank's Pepper the Robot. And I do that using the virtual assistant. But when Pepper first came out, it was September a couple of years back here, 1,000 units sold out in 1 minute. You know it's something that's big that's being integrated. Oracle already integrates with Pepper the robot. If they send me one, I'm going to make it even better. But you can also integrate with things like WeChat, WhatsApp, Alexa, Siri, you name it, using Oracle's virtual assistant. And I also do that with Pepper the robot. And Oracle's virtual assistant will tell you what people are asking, either this chatbot or this robot or whatever you're using. And notice this particular one is saying agent a lot, which is a bad sign because that means they're not getting enough help from whatever I'm using here. Now this is just an example, of course. But it's a nice little dashboard. But we're moving from connected organizations to people to devices to data platforms. Next is going to be augmented humanity. But if we look at AI, and this was from a website was saying 10 companies are buying up half of all world AI talent. And one of them was Oracle. That's why they're growing so fast. But the future is really leveraging the technology. That's what's going to make your company great. Are you leveraging the database in robotics? Because you can do it today with Oracle. I don't think I want to put this together. I'd rather have this robot put it together for me. So would everyone else. How about Pepper the robot at a sushi restaurant seating people? How about leveraging the database GPS in robotics? You can do it now with Oracle. How about leveraging virtual reality or mixed reality or maybe augmented reality? Whichever piece fits your business best, I could do it with Oracle today. Just to let you know, HoloLens also integrates with Oracle. Leverage the database with medicine. There's a great movie, Gattaca, talks a little about it. How about Oracle? Leveraging machine learning, autonomous database, chatbots. Are you leveraging those things now? How about IoT? Where in my business can I take advantage of IoT? You know, I put an IoT device on a shopping cart in a grocery store. You know, Rich, he went and got the milk, and I see he circled the cookies 5 times, but he didn't buy them. Let's look at the heat map. Why didn't he buy them? Or maybe let's look at the cameras. Next time, as he's walking, you know, past the item I want him to buy, I'm just going to send him a coupon on his phone. You got to be careful about security. This is where Oracle excels. You know, is it tracking me also? People don't like that. How about a data breach? You know, hackers are just something that's going to cost companies money and hurt people. Gartner put it this way: consider protecting people from themselves. Or otherwise you're going to draw their mistrust later. So if you don't do things right, it'll eventually catch up with you. Things have gone from where they were magical once to where it's a little manic on the web sometimes, or maybe even toxic. You know, they're gathering all my information. You want to succeed as a company? Make it magical again. And then, you know, as I'm into autonomous cars, got to be careful somebody doesn't hack that. You know, people are fallible, so we got to be very careful. All these things, you know, can be hacked into. And the short answer is There's a saying is predator. What's a predator? A predator is a taker. There's always takers in life if you allow it. That's why using the security of Oracle is very helpful. Don't get a database that's not secure. Security, the number one top AI application using machine learning. Cartoon on it. There's a smoke detector saying, hey, $30 in Bitcoin, or the next time I smell smoke, I just might let you sleep. And you could look at some more of these on my Twitter, at richniemiec.com. Or at richniemiec, rather. Tech trends. Gartner shows what's coming. As it goes up the hill, it's coming. It goes down the hill, it's finally there, and maybe 5% of the people are using it. And the far right is 30% of the people are using it. So 2013, it was a lot of things about tech, Internet of Things, big data, cloud computing, virtual reality were coming. 2015, though, was all about robotics, autonomous vehicles, connected home, smart robots. I even had robots in one of my sessions. I had Pepper the robot. I had to borrow it from someone else, though. 2016, all about implants coming soon. Virtual private assistant, brain-computer interface, machine learning. What's the future going to be like? Is it going to be a lot of implants? Virtual reality, augmented reality, better implants, robotics? If we look at the brain, we understand it pretty well because they've been studying it for decades. We understand what different parts of the brain do. It's really just ones and zeros. Now we can integrate that with sensors. And you can see people now have that connection to the brain. It's working. You can do things. This man can use his brain to get himself a drink of water even though he's quadriplegic, he has no arms or legs. Person in the lower left, he can see color. (2018), all about this new reality, the digital twin. Me and maybe my autonomous database. Or it's somebody who's helping me, where I play the human aspect of things and they're the machine side. But things are advancing very fast. This is just the beginning. If I look at 32-bit, I could access 4 gigs and directly address that memory of 4 gigs. And what happened? I went from the Windows to the Internet. 64-bit gave me 18 with 18 zeros. And I'm starting to get robotics and machine learning. I'm going to be at 128-bit not that long ago. I put it in miles per hour, but you could think of it as kilometers per hour also. If Windows was 1 kilometer per hour, Internet is like 65,000 kilometers per hour. And it was big when it came out. And then 64-bit was like 300 trillions of miles an hour faster. And I'm starting to get robotics and machine learning. Think of how big that next jump will be. You will not even recognize the past. Then you could see 128-bit, we're going into quantum computers. And we could see a lot with eigenvectors, eigenvalues, and things like that. These are also things that are very integrated with machine learning as well. And a little more on that. Here's an actual quantum computer made by D-Wave. But the final thoughts on this. The world is changing fast. I remember this TV show called Star Trek. I thought, wow, we won't get that advanced for 1,000 years when I was younger. Now we're way past that. Those who use things of the world should not become attached because the world is passing away in its present form. Now it's becoming more like this. The guy's arm is his job. You can use a brain to operate something. Be a future tech leader by integrating technology. What is the technology you need to integrate? I had to add a little coffee there. So what did I look at? I looked at, in this session, what's important now for you to succeed in the future. So what's important now? There's a lot of disruption happening. But there's also a lot of technology that allows me to be innovative. Have I given my team the tools to be innovative, like Leonardo da Vinci had? Am I leveraging big data and IoT as data sources? Am I using machine learning to process that information? Am I using an Exadata to do it even faster? Am I using a cloud to have a data center that's faster than mine? Am I leveraging chatbots? Am I starting to leverage things like robots? Things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle. Are you moving fast enough? Are you hustling to build this future that's out there? If I look at the databases over the year, if you stretch this line all the way back to 1979, Oracle would be first. And notice they're still first, 40 years later. And not a, some companies go up, they go down. Some companies, make a lot of noise and they seem like they have a lot of market share, but they don't have as much as we think. I look at Oracle, great sales and marketing, great database, apps leader, BI leader. They're putting machine learning into both of those. They started in the cloud, they're in the lead except for cloud, but now they're starting to accelerate in the cloud, and they have an advantage called security. They have an advantage called Exadata. I think they're going to win as well. This is back when we started our company. Hey, Tusk, for those who remember Tusk. Some great references. I think Gerd is a great reference that talks about technology. He also talks a lot about, future of energy, things like Bloom Energy and people that use things like hydrogen as their source and things like that. Some other references. There's more on the Twilight Zone, a great series. If you've never watched that, I would definitely look at that. I remember doing a talk, very advanced, a while back at a company called Alibaba, and I feel like, gosh, I should have asked for stock when I went back there instead of just a thank you. Jack Ma, if you happen to be on the line, throw a few shares. Or if you learn something here, throw a few shares of that future company you have. Hey, but whatever you do, go to Charlie Berger's great talks as well in the machine learning world. There's some more references. Here's a tuning book I wrote a while back, Just Don't Tell Pepper the Robot. It's the #1 Oracle release when it came out. It's also in different languages as well. And most of all, you can get a copy of this by sending an email, but follow me on Twitter so you can see what's going on with Oracle. A robot may not look like one. Larry does his presentations now, but how long until they have a robot that will do those presentations for them, maybe? Maybe it'll look exactly like Larry. Who knows? But make a difference whatever you do. Do things that are good. Try to help secure things a little bit better no matter what your job is. But also leverage technology. We're going into the future for whatever reason, several billion years since the Earth cooled and we all inhabited it. Billions of years later, God has put you at the perfect place at the perfect time. What are you doing with that? Are you leveraging technology? Make an impact in this world. And I appreciate your time. And I did this talk because I want to make an impact for you so that you see all the different products where you could use machine learning and AI with Oracle. Thank you, and you have a great day. If you have any questions, just get them through me with the chat. When you go to the various talks, you can write some comments, and I'll answer those as well. Thanks.